All right. Thank you guys for joining back on this channel. I have another special guest. I got Scott Patterson here, CEO of Tumble, and I will let him go into more detail. It's kind of funny how we met on the streets in the marina of all places. And it was actually a friend of mine who he saw and decided to do like a video, right? Just walking down the street, talking to a girl or girls in general, and then you spoke to one. But all right, man, talk a little bit about yourself. Who you are, and yeah, kind of what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, thanks for having me. Like you said, Scott Patterson, CEO, founder of Tumble. We really took over most of the shared laundry spaces in apartment buildings, taking them from being coin operated or those old sort of laundry cards and turning it into a app driven sort of totally digital experience. And with that, I would say the feature set that we have is I would call it table stakes for these days,
Mhm.
right? This is how it should be. You should be able to see which machines are available before you go to the laundry room, be able to pay with your phone, get cycle tracking notifications, be able to lock the dryer so people don't steal your stuff. And then also just like get help when you need it, right? Like these things
Right,
are
right.
these machines have problems, and it always sucks. Laundry sucks in general, and so if it doesn't work,
Right,
it's
right.
kind of a pain in the ass. So that was kind of the approach that we took back in 2019 when we started. Since then, we've raised $7 million, over $7 million in funding now. And we're a seed stage company. There's 15 of us here in the Bay Area. I grew up in the Bay Area. I'm from Mendocino and the East Bay as well.
Mhm.
And this has been it's been interesting.
Wait, so you mentioned obviously that was in 2019. What were you doing before?
Yeah, I joined the
Right
Marine
on.
Corps right out of high school.
Thank you for
Uh,
your service, man. Really
yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah, and it was a good experience. I did some active duty time. I deployed to Iraq. Um, when I was graduating high school, I really didn't want to go to college. I was pretty
Right.
clear on that. I wasn't ready for it. Um, I went to Iraq. I really wanted to go to college after that. So I came back and went to college. I dropped to the reserves. Got my degree in biochemistry from CSU Chico.
Mhm.
A fun school to go to.
Oh yeah.
And then I worked in biotech for about a year. Got deployed again to Japan, which was kind of cool, and then came back and started into sort of Tumble and Accenture, where I was a consultant. So kind of meandered my way into this.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, you have the military background. How did that kind of prepare you for where you are right now, being the CEO of Tumble?
Well, I would say a lot of times CEOs, especially if startup companies, don't have any sort of executive background or any sort of leadership experience at all, right? It's usually just the one that had the idea. And maybe that's an engineer or, a college kid or whatever, right? So, um, I've been in charge of hundreds of people. Um, our culture definitely sort of reflects that. Here at Tumble, I've seen very poor leadership. I've seen very poorly run organizations, but I've also seen a really, really inspiring and well run one. So I can't say that I've nailed it right off the bat. I'm sure I have lots to learn still, but I do feel like we are building the organization that I wanted to be a part of, and I want to be a part of, and the folks that work here, I think, would tend to agree that this is a good place to work and things like that. I was in the infantry in the military, so there's always the joke that the infantry you get out with no marketable skills per
Right.
se. Um, but I don't know. I would counter that, right? Like the
Mhm.
infantry is a lot of problem solving, a lot of teamwork, a lot of working with people in high stress situations. Um, And so if you can kind of wrap words around those things, I think it's actually a hugely valuable experience. Especially if you were like me and you just like literally weren't ready to go to college.
Right, right, right.
You know, I I don't think I was alone, and getting done with high school and being like, I don't know what I don't know what I want to do with my life. Like, you want me to go make this
Hey, to be
40
fair, man, there's still people here working full-time jobs, still not knowing what they want to do. So that's a very fair point.
exactly, right? Like,
You
I
know.
feel like you got to go out and try different things, and not be afraid to fail at things, and eventually figure out what you like and what you want to do.
So with that, right? Obviously, you mentioned the military. What's something that you've like incorporated from the military, like anything specific to your team building or your organization, basically that you use that you borrowed?
You know, uh, so not particularly, right? Like, there are no structural resemblances between Tumble and the Marine Corps, for instance. We have a lot of Marines, though. So I committed to hiring 25% military veterans and spouses, uh,
Wow.
starting the company, right? We're at about 30, we're about a third of the company's military, Army, a lot of Marine Corps, and we got our first Navy guy a couple weeks ago. So he was actually a nuclear engineer too. So we have an
Wow.
actual nuclear engineer.
That is pretty
Um,
sick.
but the thing about the military that I like is that you get folks that have faced some sort of adversity,
Hmm.
which I think is hugely important, especially in startups. This isn't the hardest thing that they've ever done. They're usually self-directed, right? They're able to go learn whatever they need to and figure it, FIFO, figure it the fuck out, or
Yeah.
FITFO. So yeah, like I don't think there are parts of the military that I like, but remember, like, the military is structured in the way that it is to provide rails for folks that may not have internal discipline, right? You don't really want that in a startup. Matter of fact, that actually probably would hurt your
Hurt.
success
Yeah.
more than anything else. So you build the rails a little bit differently, right? You build the rails where there are clear objectives that people are working towards, where the roadmap to where we're going may not be super clear, but the objective is, and how we get there is sort of the journey, right? And how fast we can execute and iterate and get there. So I think that's hugely important, is being able to lead by objectives, right? Say,
Mhm.
hey, like, this is what done looks like.
Right.
And how you get there, I don't, it doesn't really
There's
matter,
not
right?
one set way. Yeah.
Exactly. We just need to try a bunch of different things and iterate through, and use your instincts, and not be afraid to make big bets, knowing that not all of them will work out. But if you make enough big bets, all you need is one, right? All you need
Hmm.
is one to work out. And that's really kind of it's an interesting way to run a company. We're not risk adverse, like,
Right.
we're very much risk tolerant, is how I
Right.
would put it. We don't want you just burning money and going wild, but, like, at the same time, it is the big bets. It is not the conservative approach that makes you move faster. So, uh,
100%.
in the Marine Corps, we talked about operational risk management, which is, in order to do the job that is inherently dangerous, you have to
Mhm.
accept a level of risk, and you need to be able to manage that risk and think about it in a way that is safe and makes sense. I don't see a whole lot of difference in startups.
100%. And so I know when we had a conversation the last time, you mentioned you have like a media branch or some sort of thing. Okay, talk a little bit about how you're using that to kind of gauge and be an asset to you and your company.
Yeah, I mean, well, content is king right now.
Content. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, um, everyone's been talking a lot about privacy and Facebook and Apple and all these things. Well, the reason
Twitter,
that
yeah.
everyone's talking about that is because they used to be able to quite literally track us, right? And they would
Mm,
say, Scott went to the marina on Saturday night until 2 a.m. and spent money at this pizza place
yeah.
and,
That's
Balboa
good.
Cafe or wherever I was. And, he also went to these websites and, his Facebook profile says he's 32 years old and, he likes, I don't know, Afro Man or something, right? Like they'd be able to
Right.
they'd be able to say all those things about me based off of just like my IP addresses and the cookies on my phone and things like that. Well, that's no longer the case, right? So when we're thinking about advertising and getting eyeballs on your messaging, you have to start, no longer can you just pay for it and have it be there, right? Now you have to kind of be creative and draw in what those people would want to watch, right?
Right. Right.
That the types of people that would buy your product or consume your product, what is it that they would want to like watch? What would they find entertaining? What would they kind of dive into? And
So
so,
actually, yeah, on that point, talk about that a little bit because I know you're explaining this fake protest that you guys did, and so yeah, talk about that. I mean, I thought when I heard it, I was like, "You're crazy, dude," but I like it.
yeah. So we work right now. We specifically kind of sell to apartment
Okay.
operators and owners and things like that. So there's really kind of two main big conferences that happen. One is the National Apartment Association Apartmentalize, which is kind
Mhm.
of the National Apartment Association's big conference. And it was really expensive to get a booth there. And I was just like, dude, like for $6,000 or something, like I'm gonna
Right.
do something else. So we're really big fans of something called category design. And this was kind of put together by some guys that, Chris Lockhead, Al Ramadan, and they wrote a book on it called I don't remember what it's called. I'm blanking on it. I literally have it on my bookshelf. But it's all about category design. And the idea with category design is you sort of frame up something new, and instead of brand building, you're really building a category. And so
Mm,
when you're talking, instead of talking about Tumble and
mm,
um, branding Tumble, what we talk about is dumb laundry versus smart laundry.
mm.
And so
Wow.
we
Yeah.
invented smart laundry, of course. So that's
Mm,
our category design. And
right.
dumb laundry is everything else, everything that's not Tumble. And so uh, since we get to define what smart laundry is, all of our messaging is kind of, this is what smart laundry is. There's only one smart laundry company, and that is Tumble, right? And so what we did with this protest is we protested dumb laundry, and we hired about 20 actors
Mm.
and a film crew. That's our guys. And they made a bunch of picket signs. We had a creative director make a bunch of picket signs. And it was all just kind of things that define what dumb laundry is, which also, took little jabs at some of the other companies in the space. And so we had them go protest in front of this conference during lunchtime when people would come in and out. And we had a plane fly around that said enddumblaundry.com. We had the protesters saying all this thing. And so it drove just a ton of traffic to people being like, what is dumb laundry, right? And then they'd go to a landing page and it'd be all about Tumble, right? And
Mm,
so then we're able to retarget ads off of that landing page, because the only way that they could have seen it is if they were at the event. And so it's just another way to create these funnel sort of content type, getting the right content from the right people at the right time.
that's awesome. That's
And
awesome. And so to piggyback off of that a little bit, I'll put the link in the description for the video, by the way. So I'll plug it in there. And you mentioned the other companies in that space. How would you describe like the difference, the main points that people can look to as to why Tumble is better than, name whatever X, Y, and Z company?
well, I mean, my favorite comparison here, right, is the
Hmm.
the governing body, the association that kind of rules over this industry is called the Coin Laundry Association.
Okay.
So we're totally cashless.
Yeah.
So there you go. There you go.
Mhm.
That's all you
Right.
really need
Right.
to know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, you talk about you hear people talk about disruption and there being legacy businesses, right? Things that have been around for 75, 100 years.
Yeah.
The two incumbents in our space have both been around for 75 years. Um, they really haven't changed. They really don't care about the users. Um, to be totally honest, I don't think they really care about their partners too much
Mm.
in property management because they don't take care of them. They don't treat them like partners. Um, so it's been interesting to one be user obsessed, right? We're totally obsessed with the resident and
Mm.
the person that's trying to get their shit done, right? Trying to get their laundry done, and making that just better in any way we can, right? How do we make this chore better for that one person? If something does go wrong, because things do go wrong, how do we make that less of a burden, right? And since we have that focus on that individual, um, it kind of concentric circles out, right? Whereas the legacy incumbents are worried about their bottom line, their EBITDA margins, they don't even have customer support most of the time. So it's really interesting kind of trying to go against them. So for those reasons, that's why we call them dumb laundry, right? Like
Right.
you got to go pull $20 out of an ATM so that you could go put it in a different machine that you put a card into, and you take that card out of it and go put it in a different machine just so you can do your laundry, right? Like that
That's true.
that whole value chain right there is just mind blowing to me. Then if something
100%.
goes
And
wrong,
yeah.
you can't get a hold of anyone. It goes
Right.
into ticket purgatory for 6 weeks or something. Maybe you get $1 or $2 back. So um, yeah, it is interesting. It's an interesting space to work in because it's not something people always think about, especially if you have in-unit washers and dryers. But I do think that one thing that people can hold on to is no one likes doing laundry, right? And that's
Right.
kind of where we're taking this industry is making a pick 'em delivery service that is cheap,
Mhm.
that is high quality, that is consistent no matter where you are in the country, and allowing folks to make money off of that. Like if you're a stay-at-home parent or whatever, and laundry is kind of a commodity, right? Like you either have
Mhm.
clean laundry or don't.
Yeah. Well, what do
So
you say to someone who says, "Hey, we use CSC. How do you combat that?" And they're like, "I have it on my card or my phone or whatever. There's an app, blah blah blah." Like, what do you say to those people?
yeah, I mean, there's a customer adoption curve, right?
Mhm.
Like there's people that are super happy and there's people that are not. I would say
Mhm.
that the people that are happy are few and far between.
Right.
But eventually they'll come around, right? As long as you keep innovating and creating the next best thing and being better, in general, like those people, they're called laggards, right? They'll come over eventually. Um, but I think in general, if you go ask people about if they enjoy one, doing laundry, or two, enjoy their shared laundry experience, uh, the answer is just no, right? I mean, it's everyone's got a story.
Right. Exactly.
Everyone's got a story about it, right? So, and we're changing that, and I don't want to sound like we're perfect, right? But
Mhm.
we solve problems. I mean, even if something goes wrong in our system, like no shit, 2 hours ago I was dealing with a whole fire drill right now because something went wrong, but in the hour following, everything was fixed, right? So no one else can move that quickly, no one else can
Mhm.
solve problems that quickly, and get things running again. And so the amount of people that get affected is usually pretty small. We make it up to them, and then we just keep moving forward, and that's the entire game. And we're really here to make people's lives better, and that's
Right.
that's the focus.
I agree. And at the core of it is always number one. It's customer service, right? I think when separating yourself from all these other companies, if you can deliver the best customer service, you tend to win regardless. Now, going into that next chapter, right? You mentioned a little bit when we were talking about, what you guys offer and the services. And then you mentioned something that really stood out to me. and that was, how about you remove the person from the whole process? And I was like, whoa, what? I don't even know if there's something like you even want to talk about, or you're
Yeah.
still in the master. But what did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, this is the logical next step, and this is what we're doing in San
Yeah,
Francisco right now, right?
yeah,
So, in San Francisco, if you want to be a part of this, you can be. And this is the pick up delivery thing that I'm talking about, right? So what we're doing is we have these laundry rooms that are distributed all across the country, right? And they're in the basements of apartments that are probably really close to where you live. And these machines are just sitting there like 22 hours a day. They do nothing, right? So not only is it a waste of space for the property managers, it's not revenue driving for them. On top of that, if you've ever been a gig worker or have worked in low skilled labor jobs, you typically have to leave the house to go take part in those economies. Um,
right, right,
and then on top of that, no one wants to do laundry. So everyone hates doing laundry. So if you make more than $20 an hour, it's literally not worth your time to do your own laundry because of opportunity costs. So how do you match all of this together into a way where I don't have to do laundry, someone else can make money, and everybody wins, right? So what we're doing is we use a logistics company like DoorDash.
okay,
It's an on-demand pickup and delivery service where we send you a bag, and you can sign up for this on our website. We send you a bag. When you're ready, you scan the bag with our app. A DoorDash driver comes immediately, comes, grabs that bag. It takes it to one of our facilities where a resident who is, that gig worker is working from home, working from their building. That bag gets dropped off on the front door to them. They do the handoff, and that bag is then done on our machines that are underutilized. 2-hour turnaround time, gets done,
right,
comes back to you. It's 50% of the cost of anything else out there because we have a density of machines that allows that person working from home to make a significant amount of money.
right,
So it really solves this issue of slow turnaround time, inconvenience where you need to, be home for a pickup or something like that. And, you get the Comcast windows. I'll be there between 1 and
right,
9 p.m., right?
right,
Uh, and so that's kind of the first step of this, right? Is just you create that network, and then the next step for us is you start diversifying the product out. Maybe start adding dry cleaning, comforters, commercial size stuff, um, and then eventually, what's going to happen is you're going to start to see automation kind of come in. And there's this really interesting thing that's happening in industry right now that's called human machine teaming, right? And it's already hard enough to find quality workers, right? It's already hard enough
right,
to find someone that's dedicated and cares about what they're doing. So you really want to use robotics, not to get rid of that person, but to make that person more efficient, right? So
mm,
you make that high quality talent into 3x more
mm,
productivity, right? And that's going to be the first step of, and I don't think robotics is ever going to get kind of further. Like you're never really going to replace people, but we
mhm,
can use it in a way where you can take high quality talent and be a force multiplier with robotics. And so that's kind of the next step, and you'll keep seeing that price drop, right? So maybe it's $50 a bag of laundry right now, but
right,
as that high quality talent gets better at their
multiplied,
job,
yeah,
that
price
price comes
decrease,
down
yeah,
as pick up and delivery, the autonomous vehicles start coming. That price is going to start coming down. So eventually, we're going to get to a place where none of us are doing any laundry, and we're going to be laughing about having an in-unit washer and dryer because it's like, oh yeah, I never use it. Why would I ever have that, right? So
right, right,
that's
right.
really kind of the vision for Tumble and where we're going.
That's awesome. Honestly, I've never heard of that before. I think based off of the environment that San Francisco, you drive down the street and you'll see a car with 100 different cameras, so you always see these companies experimenting. So I can't think of a better place than San Francisco to basically pursue that. That's awesome, man. And I wanted to leave it on this note. What's something your advice, words of wisdom in terms of something you'd tell anyone who wants to really start or be an entrepreneur, whatever it is they want to do.
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about this, right? And I mean, you never know until you know, right? So If you have an idea, work on it. Work on it on the side. Work on it, and then the next step after you think you formed it is go talk to people. Go talk to as many people as you can about it. Because if it's a bad idea, you're going to find out really quickly. And I'm not saying go talk to people and take everything they say literally, because a lot of the times consumers don't know what they want in the future, right? They don't know what their life is going to be like, but you can listen to the pain points, right? You can listen to the things that they care about. And if what you're hearing kind of fits what your idea of the future looks like, then you know you have a good idea, right? And then that's when you go try to build a product or find a co-founder and do all that type of stuff. And then the next piece is just launch. Get something in people's hands as fast as possible. Because the best feedback is actual people using your product, hearing what problems are happening, what they're running into, and even how they're using your product. It may be different than what your original idea for it is, or what the original utility for it is.
Awesome, man. That was amazing. And I'll drop the links to everything for Tumble and any social media or any of that stuff, man. I really believe in what you're doing, even with the short amount of time we've had to, obviously talk and all these things. So I'm excited for what else you're gonna do, man. I definitely think, you have the right people around you to support you. And I know Micah's not there. Micah, for context, is a friend that he met.
He's actually right next door. His office is literally next door to mine. So
crazy story, guys. I wish, well, John Ray is going to post it on his channel. But man, thank you so much for taking your time. I know you're a very busy man, and I know the sky's the limit for you. So yeah, man, thank you guys for tuning in. Until next